that would potentially be more than 2.85, because essentially you're giving us time to do what we are here to do. So the 2.85, that without a question, that will be paid the earliest year 4, year 5. And this is all based on a contract. So that contract also will be a covenant that will run with the land, and that will be the contingency, basically.
And that's unrelated to what happens with phase 2, is the way you envision it.
Right. There is no contingency that we have to complete phase 2, phase 3 for you to get your money back. Okay. We will pay 2.85 as soon as we stabilize, whether that's year 4, year 5, whatever that trigger is, or if we decide to refinance in year 3, we get that money and we pay you back. And then depending on whatever we negotiate in the sale agreement, it could definitely include some sort of, dividend or partnership percentage that we've done before in Miami, regarding CRA partnerships. But I think in speaking with Chris, it was very clear to us that, the 2.85 was very important to receive. The timing of it, what is not as important as receiving it, whether it's year 1 or year 4.
And one follow-up question on the way Laura described phase 2, talking about trying to marry the commercial piece with a tenant. Is the idea to find a tenant and then partner with that tenant to do the development for the lofts above the commercial space, or it's just trying to make sure that what your team does for that development is in line with a potential tenant?
Yeah, it's more the latter. We want to make sure that we have time to secure the right tenant. We have deep relationships in, tech and the entrepreneurial space. We really see that as an attractive missing piece in downtown Lake Worth, that we know that we can convince people that this can be their new home. So we want to take that time to do that properly, but we would not partner. The idea is not to partner, but it's just to really have that time to find the right tenant.
If I could just say one thing about the tenancies and the retail, we do a lot of retail, whole blocks of Lincoln Road, and for High Street as well as local micro retail. And I think what this team is telling you is that the market is really up in the air right now, and things are changing. And rather than promise you, untold things that right now are in flux, they're taking a thoughtful approach in partnership with you. To provide you something that's to scale and in the character of your downtown, as opposed to asking from you unspecified density to just cram in whatever. I think this is I know that it maybe it's not as the certainty of knowing exactly, but it is an honest answer of where we are right now. And it is the thoughtful answer. And it is what we're seeing among every developer that does tons of retail. All the big anchors, everyone is up in the air right now, but yet this team wants to bring you something that's thoughtful and well designed to suit this place. And I think that is something, it's an honest answer. And I just would tell you that because we are involved in many, many projects that are doing retail right now, and we've never seen the market like this. And I've been doing this for 30 years. So just something for you guys to be considering as you're looking at other proposals for retail, especially.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Like you said, very thoughtful. I appreciate that. That's all my questions.
Okay, before we go, thanks, Brent. Before we go to William, I just had one quick question regarding the building on Site 2, the 10-unit building. Is that being built, if it's selected, is that being built at the same time that the buildings on Site 1 are?
Yes, it will be a simultaneous site. Yes.
Okay. Okay, William, go ahead, please.
Thanks, Chris. And I agree with most of the comments from the other review panelists. Can you go to the overall site plan? I would just like to have a better understanding of which buildings that are existing you hope to preserve in place, because I do oversee the historic preservation program for the city. And I just want to have a better understanding of what because it appears you're only going to really be saving one in situ, and all the other ones are going to be either dismantled or disposed of or demolished or moved. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. So we really want to, if we cannot move the other historic resources, we will definitely demolish them in a way where we can reuse the materials. Again, we went up and walked the actual interior of the building. So we believe just eyeballing it that we'll be able to do that and kind of link that heritage and history throughout the new development.
Okay. From a personal standpoint, in our historic preservation guidelines, your community building is rather uninspiring and kind of reminds me of our barn on the farm in North Carolina. And I don't mean that pejoratively, it's just that building needs a little bit of work. As for the site that's on Lake Avenue, there's a little teeny building there that's been condemned. What would you propose that open space be used as while you're waiting to develop whatever might happen on the phase 2 of Site 1?
So there, we do have some tenants in mind that we would put there. I know that barn, I believe, is that barn being demolished? We like that corner masonry vernacular structure, and we believe that we can work with that in the interim. But well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the barn, isn't it in the process of being demolished?
Well, I was referring to your building as looking like kind of like our barn on the farm. Now, there's a little teeny building.
Oh, I'm
Wait,
sorry.
Mr. Waters, that was just a placemaker. That was that design is not by any means final, and
Okay.
we absolutely, we don't want you to take that. This was sort of a placeholder and a concept plan, but the idea is to work with really restoring and doing the best of. So please don't. That's just the first. The idea of reclaiming one and to use it as a community space, but not the final design. I
The
want to
parcel
assure you.
that's next to 501 Lake Avenue is has a little teeny building that has been condemned. It has been demolished. What would you propose that open space be utilized as? Because right now it's mostly undeveloped and vacant dirt.
Right. Well, and eventually we do want to develop that site to be ground floor retail that really fits within the commercial historic district, and then with loft offices above. In the interim, you know, people are craving outdoor space right now. So we would beautify that space. We would landscape it and find a tenant that would be able to utilize that corner masonry vernacular structure.
Okay, explain to me too, what is your understanding of the entitlement process for this project?
So we will go through the plan development process with this project. So again, as Jackie said, we really, we've created a team intentionally to really work with the city. I don't think you'll find a better team that really listens and gives the community what is needed. So that is the plan. We, want to move forward as soon as possible in that process.
Okay, just a word of caution in that if you go the plan development route and you don't have an identified building or type or proposal for phase 2 site 1, you will have to go back through the entitlement process to amend that plan development once that building is identified.
Understood.
Okay. What is in the parking garage, you haven't really thought about that at all on site 3?
Well, in the RFP, there was a plan previously done for about 217 spaces. So we agree with that. We just want to make sure that it, one, aligns with the 5-year plan that you guys have in place. And 2, we need to make sure that we really bring that vitality and density to downtown before we commit to that.
Next question is, you mentioned some other incentives. What incentives have you incorporated in your proposal that will be coming from the city, not the CRA?
Other incentives. Well, so we will be using the sustainable incentive bonus in this project. We're committed to doing LEED or an equivalent of that. Outside of that, we really again see this as a turning point in Lake Worth, focusing on sustainability and resiliency. So in the city planning process, it would really be that sustainable incentives.
And I
program.
believe based on your density, you will have to utilize our TDR program. Are you
Yes.
incorporating paying for those, or will you want those as an incentive?
We would be willing to pay for those, yes.
And then on the sustainability factor, maybe you're a sustainability expert. She did not mention two other certifications that we're open to utilizing, which is Whole Health Building and Green Globes. Are those two that you are familiar with utilizing, or would they be not an option?
Yes, we certainly are able to work with those if that's what we decide that is going to be the most suitable option for the site.
Okay, great. That's all of my questions. Thank you so much for your presentation and your submission.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mute, Chris. Chris, unmute yourself. There you go.
Okay, thanks, everybody. I know we're going to put, I know development team, we're going to put all you guys in our waiting room. So please just hang out, wait a little bit, and we'll be back to let you know what the scoring is, okay? Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Lester, you there?
Yes, I am.
Who else is with you? George, right?
George and Diego Bonet.
Is it, did I say something that says linear? Is that right?
Yes, I think so. Yes, linear.
Linear. Okay, so you got Lester, you got George, you got linear. Okay. All right, running behind. So guys, if you can go ahead and just do a quick 5 minutes of what the modular is all about.
Perfect. My name is Lester Perez Pizarro. I am the architect of this project and principal of Atelier 305. We are pleased to submit the enclosed conceptual design consisting of a mixed-use project of 195 total rental units with related amenities and structured parking garage, and a total of 12,066 square feet of ground level gross commercial space. The housing component consists of a combination of studio, 1-bedroom, and 2-bedroom rental units. The commercial spaces aim to expand Lake Avenue street life along the full perimeter of the project. The 2-story parking garage component is fully internalized, as well as the amenities, pool deck and clubhouse, which are located on top of the parking. We have named this project the modular because it offers a visual bridge between free art expression and design functionality to contribute to the cultural identity of Lake Worth. The facade offers an iconic expression that celebrates the arrival to downtown Lake Worth. The focal point of the project is the corner that faces the City Hall Annex Park, which is the one illustrated in the rendering, which allows access into the Arts Courtyard that you can see through at the ground level, and panoramic terrace above as an extension of the public space. The contribution of this project to the Lake Worth community goes beyond the generation
of a place to live, work, and play, the modular proposes an iconic presence in a central location in order to contribute to the artistic identity of the area. Our team, which consists of Atelier 305, architect, and Linear Group developer, have great expectation about the successful development of this area through our collaboration with the CRA. This concludes my presentation as the architect, and it will continue with Diego Bonet and George.
Hey guys, how are you?
Hi.
I apologize for the drooling. I had drooling in the background. I think Diego's going to take the lead, and I'm going to mute.
We can't hear you.
All right, we can't hear you, Diego.
I think he might be having some issues with his microphone.
Hello, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
It's nice to connect again. I know you guys had a chance to meet us briefly.
Can you make it louder? I'm sorry.
Is this better?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So you had a chance to hear us meet us during the Flying Handkerchief, so you know a little bit about our group. In general, I think we tried to be very realistic when we presented the Flying Handkerchief, and that's maybe was a little bit to our detriment. And I think as a company, we're very realistic. Our background is in financing. So just as we were realistic with that project, we're trying to be realistic with this one. So our proposal, in addition to everything that Lester just mentioned, I think is something that we feel comfortable we can get financed in today's current environment. We are focusing just on site 1. Site 2, we're not developing for the time being. First of all, we do think that the highest and best use of site 2 is to be combined with the adjacent parking lot. So from our perspective, developing site 2 into a smaller project now takes away the optionality of in the future combining that with the adjacent parking lot and developing a much more appealing mixed use larger project. So we're focusing just on site 1. As Lester said, it's market rate units. We do have a few of those units designated towards more short-term use. Our vision for those is market and financing permitting, that it would be something, whether something along the lines of a Domio or a Sonder, which are new short-term stay concepts whereby people can really get a chance to experience what Lake Worth is about for a few weeks and have a chance to use it as more of a transient component. In general, like I said, we feel we love the location. We love Lake Worth. We have projects both to the north and to the south in West Palm and Fort Lauderdale. We understand what Lake Worth is about. We're very bullish on it, and we like it very much long term. That being said, it's a very tough time in the market, so we're just trying to be conservative in how we structure the proposal.
Okay, we're gonna go get started with questions. So Joan, you want to start off, please?
Sure. Good morning. I hate to start off with bad news, but your building is too tall. And William can certainly drill down a little bit more on what is allowed and what isn't allowed, but I don't believe you'd be able to have the top floor, so we'd have to remove either, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 6th floor, and then maybe have a little terrace on the top. And I didn't know if removing, I think it comes out to 26 units, if you were to remove 26 units, if you would still want to do the project.
Lester, I think you can speak regarding the sort of the.
Yes, maybe we are the building we designed to be compatibly sized with the existing building that is across the street, that is Lucerne condominium, which is 6 or 7 stories. We could offer, because sacrificing rentable space really hurts the developer. Maybe one option we could produce to avoid the perception of the 7th story is to eliminate or considerably recess the upper canopy and basically use it as a plain roof terrace or uncovered roof terrace. So the perception from the street would be compatibly sized as if we want to match exactly the 6th story of the Lucerne condominiums that is across the street, and it's in a less central location than this building. Basically, urban-wise, we are trying to create some sort of balance between the building, between this building and the existing context. In terms of this comment about eliminating apartments, is more to for the response of the developers, because this is where their profitability of the project is.
I'm glad Lester spoke first, because that gave me a little chance to look at our models. I think worst case scenario, we'll lose 26 units. We're down to 169 units. We wouldn't change our proposal. It would still work. Internally, we would try to regain back as many of those units as possible by maybe carving out, maybe making the floor plates a little wider or so. But it would be the same proposal. It's not going to have a very material impact.
Okay, can you talk to me a little bit about how much commercial space is on L&M and what kind of your vision for that area is, taking into consideration market, the market right now?
Sure, I'll talk a little bit from a business perspective, and maybe Lester can add comment on his vision from a design architectural perspective. From a business perspective, as you guys know, retail is very, very, very tough. That being said, this project would not really be completed for, at the earliest, another 30 months or so. So we do expect to be in a very different environment. We are expecting that, or we're assuming that the retail facing Lake Worth Avenue would be much more retail focused, so boutique sort of coffee shops, restaurants, I guess more food and beverage focused, whereas the retail that's on the secondary streets would be more, call it flex space, so it would be office slash showroom space for people who work out of there.
Yes.
We are underwriting, and from a business perspective, we are assuming very conservative rents on those in general. So we're assuming $20 per square foot, just because we're trying to be very, very conservative in terms of what we think we would lease those for.
And maybe Lester can answer this. To the south, we have a historic neighborhood. Obviously, this isn't a historic neighborhood. I was wondering, in order to kind of negate the effect of a 5-story building, what kind of treatment possibly could be on the south side to kind of make it transition into the neighborhood a little better, instead of kind of going up straight 6 stories or 5 stories, whatever it may be?
Well, to the south of the property right now, there is a major, on the south of Lake, on the south of First Avenue, right? Right now, there is a a major open parking lot that belongs to a church, if I'm not mistaken. So,
Right.
we are providing as a backup for that some a small commercial space. If you could show the slide of the site plan, so we can share it. We have a small commercial space back in the south that could be, let's say, an ice cream shop or something for the of the church, and the lobby for an access lobby for the resident apartments. And I think we have enough from this major open that belongs to the church, and I guess it will be there for a long time. So we have enough depth of view to perceive the scale of the project in relation to this major open space that is the parking garage.
Right. There are step backs that are required in the code, and I'll let William kind of focus on that a little bit more. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience with the extended stay? Is that something that you've done in other places that's been really popular? Is that why you want to do it here, or?
Yeah, we're actually, we have the site in West Palm Beach directly when you get off of the Brightline station, and that was originally going to be a hotel, and because of COVID, everything going on, hotel obviously are not really financeable, and now we're working with the city to change the zoning of that from a hotel use to a short-term stay rental. And the reason is primarily because those have actually been doing very, very well during COVID, since people are traveling less, but they're working remotely. A lot of people are taking that as an opportunity to live out of, you call it New Yorkers or people from the Northeast, to live out of West Palm Beach and work out of there for 3 weeks or so. So that concept's actually doing very well. We're very close to both the CEO of Domio, which is a major company doing that, and and Saunders. So we have a very good relationship with them, and we've discussed this project, and they're open to it.
Regarding Site 2, and I have to agree with you about leaving that for later. Would you be willing to, I guess, kind of donate towards the construction of this parking lot?
We can run the numbers on that. I don't think it's going to be a large amount, so potentially yes. I think ideally what we'd like to do is we can call it donate towards it, demolish the existing structures, and resurface and connect the two parcels. And we'd love to have, when you guys are ready to develop all of that, we'd love to have an option on it to call it look, if it's a first right of looking at it from a development perspective, of working with you guys to develop that as a follow-up project.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. That's all my questions.
Okay.
Drew, you got anything?
Not a whole lot. So I look forward to William's questions, honestly. So the rooftop terrace, that's something that Lake Worth would be huge in Lake Worth, because we don't really have a place to go do that right now. And so, I'm just interested in y'all's juxtaposition between it being too tall, how to make it shorter, and if there's a possibility to keep a rooftop terrace. Obviously, shade would be huge in Lake Worth on a rooftop terrace with the height restrictions. I'm not sure how all that fits together, but just be interested in how you think it might be able to fit together.
Do you want to talk about that, Lester?
Yes, there are options that we could achieve. I mean, I will further discuss with my client, the developer. An option could be, for example, to move the rooftop terrace one level down without eliminating the full level of apartments, in a way that we have a communication to the elevator that is adjacent to the internal courtyard, and it would be shared. That rooftop terrace would be shared with the level 7. Sorry, with level 6. My mistake. And it will still have an amazing panoramic view of the City Hall Annex Park, which is a very beautiful place to overlook, to share to enjoy the panoramic view.
And you'll see the ocean from up there, which is nice.
Probably.
You'll definitely see the ocean. I'm looking at the Google
and it has
Earth.
amazing trees and art.
Mm-hmm. And so the design on the facade, I appreciate that you have a design on this facade. So that's something that I was absolutely looking for, because, you know, our city hall is iconic, and it would certainly be a shame not to have something iconic that, you know, enhances it. What's your thought on, is there a meaning behind that facade, or, and I'm wondering where it came from, where the inspiration came from?
Okay, well, the facade is linked somehow to the name of the building. The building is the name of the project is the modular. The modular comes from a term that was originated in the 20th century, and I would like to read the quick definition, and then I will. That was the inspiration of this concept. The modular is an anthropometric scale of proportions devised by the Swiss-born French architect Le Corbusier. It was developed as a visual bridge between two incompatible scales: the imperial, based on the human scale, the foot, and the metric system, decimal system, scientific, based on the meter. It is based on the height of a man with his arm raised. You can later Google the image, so you can see the picture. Basically, and the way we get inspired with this concept is that the modular in this project is a visual bridge between art expression and design functionality. In other words, we try to produce an artistic expression and at the same time be functional in terms of the use of the building. So this pattern in the facade created a system of proportion without obstructing the visuals from the apartments. It's a rectilinear composition with coarse elements that create some iconic identity of the building in the area. Something that is not a usual facade. It's not a facade that could be that happens to be anywhere. So the site is so unique that we saw the opportunity to present an iconic building that would become part of the identity would contribute to the cultural identity of the site, you know. And originally, as Diego mentioned, we started with the same process in this corner of considering the idea of a boutique hotel, but we discussed, you know, the recent experience that we have had with the financing for a hotel, for a boutique hotel, which eventually, if things change, who knows, you know. But right now, that's why the developer is trying to implement a concept of extended stay, but it's intended to attract people to Lake Worth, you know, to stimulate not only the service industry, more local jobs, and also a focus of a focal point for entertainment and for curiosity, for cultural curiosity from outside Lake Worth.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Thanks, Drew. Brett, anything?
Yeah, so first off, I'd like to say I really did enjoy the flying handkerchief, and I like this even better. I think it's really creative, it's exciting. I love the way it utilizes the commercial frontage, and kind of it's a cool concept. one of the things I want to point out, I feel obligated as an engineer, that on the proposals we've seen, not everybody has allowed the east-west and north-south alleys that are existing to be accessible. I think this is the only one where both those alleys have currently planned either a road that's public access or part of the parking garage and parking lot there. So if there's an underground utility that either we do know about or we don't know about that maybe needs to be accessed at some point in the future, I think this is the only one that would allow for that. So I think that's a good thing. The thing I don't know is when I was looking, and this question might be for Chris, when I looked in the package that I got, it seemed like the other two proposals had an attachment that was either the actual assurance by a bank of a mortgage with a term sheet, that wasn't executed, but kind of showed the financing, or a letter of confirmation. I think it was attachment E or appendix E or something like that. I don't think I saw anything like that in this package.
They had their finances in there. I don't think a letter from a financial institution, but they did have.
So when we have, because I asked because one of our scoring criteria on the sheet says proof of available and secured financing. So if we see that their company is financially stable, is that sufficient for us to score them in that category, or how does that work?
Well, let's ask them about their financing.
Okay. Okay. Well, first I want to ask Chris because I don't know if I missed something. I know he looked at these packages closer than I did, admittedly. So
Not sure if you can see this, Brett. Was there? Did you see like that?
Yes.
Their assumptions. That's all we received.
Okay.
Uses and sources.
Okay.
Basically the budget.
Yeah.
So I guess my question then for Lanier is about the financing, just because either I missed it or if you could just speak to your comfort level with the ability, because I think this is a little more, this is a bigger project than I think at least one of the other proposals we saw. It's going to have a bigger number for the construction costs. Just your comfort level with the current market, your ability to get the financing to get this thing out of the ground. And I think you thought 30 months from closing.
Sure. Regarding our financing or how we work typically, we do have two family offices that we work with for all our projects, and they're our equity on all the projects. We also work with institutional groups. I think I mentioned last time that we have a project in Miami that's about to break ground, and we actually are working on that. We were able to secure financing during COVID, which I think is, it's a much larger project. It's a $63 million project. I think the fact that we were able to secure financing during COVID speaks to our ability to be able to secure financing for these types of projects. So to your point, to answer your question, our equity is typically from our family offices or from institutional groups that we have relationship with. The bank financing, we do not, we've discussed with local banks, but we do not have a term sheet that we can present. In our experience, that tends to come much later once the project is site plan approved. That's how it worked for our Miami project, and that was our plan for this project. Banks just tend to take you a little bit more seriously once the project is farther along and you do have it tied up with you guys, with the CRA or whoever the seller is, and you do have it site plan approved. At that point is when really there becomes a market for the financing of it.
Okay, thanks. That's all my questions. Thank you for this title.
Okay, thanks, Brent. I just had a question regarding the 218 parking spaces estimated for this site. How many of those do you have dedicated towards free public parking or public parking, for the commercial space or the project?
Well, most of these we have in the second site. We are gaining 37 parking spaces. That would be in addition to the total of 216 parking spaces that we are providing. If I'm not incorrect. Those 37 would be totally dedicated to public parking. The ones that are on site, I leave it to the decision of the developer to see how much would they be willing to.
So our thought is that 218 parking spaces would go to service the retail on this site and the residential and short-term stay component. And then the 37 parking spaces on the site 2, those would go just towards completely general public use.
Okay. All right, thanks. All right, we're gonna wrap up with William. You got anything?
And what I have to say may influence or impact much of what you've already talked about. So we'll go. The first component is that our charter allows no part of a building or anything attached to it in this area to exceed 65 feet. The Lucerne is actually a 5-story building with a mezzanine. So under our zoning code and comp plan, your building can be maxed out at 5 stories, 56.25 feet, but you do have the ability to access the roof for amenities. That's the first caveat. 2, back to the person's question about the east-west alley, there are utilities in it, and the existing buildings to the west of the site are serviced from the rear, and more than likely the alley would have to be maintained access both from L Street and K, or facilitate some kind of cul-de-sac turnaround that would be in your parking garage. As for the setbacks, the setback from First Avenue South, if you would like to do a building with no setbacks and be 5 stories tall, has to be 18 feet. On the Lake Avenue side, if you want to do the same thing, this build to line or setback line has to be 13 feet. So that changes your setbacks as you propose them. I would be interested in knowing how you would present this concept to our Historic Resource Preservation Board and how familiar you are with our historic preservation guidelines.
Okay. In terms of the alley, we are providing access from L Street right now. We have if it's required to have access from N Street as well. I mean, basically a through condition, right? We have no issues with that. The reason why we closed it at that end was in order to be able to unify the parcels and not to add traffic into the M Street. So there is more queuing to access the parking lot from L Street, which is a less busy vehicular street. But if that is necessary, we can perfectly adapt the parking to provide access at the ground level. If the utilities are underground, I mean, as long as we are allowed to build, let's say, with a 12 feet or 15 feet clearance at the ground level, to be able to build on top and leaving that vehicular access through the project, under the project.
Okay, the second part, the only question I really asked was, how would you go about presenting this proposal to our Historic Resource Preservation Board?
The second question was related, sorry, to the setback you mentioned?
No, I didn't have a question. The question I had, the only one I have right now is, how would you go about selling this project to our Historic Resource Preservation Board as it is in a national and local historic district?
As I mentioned before, this site the existing buildings in this area are not historical. We have presence of building across the street that are not that doesn't have a historic appearance either. And I think we're offering the opportunity to create a contemporary iconic expression of Lake Worth that creates a contrast with the City Hall Annex. I think that contrast would accentuate even more the historic condition of the City Hall Annex. If we try to imitate that architecture, it would lose the City Hall Annex would lose power as a historic as an existing historic structure. That would be our main position.
Okay, just for your edification, the Lucerne is not in a historic district, and its approval and construction led to a multi-year lawsuit. Just so you'll be aware of that. In regards to your density, the site is maxed out at 60 units an acre, and you're well above that. So we also don't allow short-term rentals of residential units in Lake Worth Beach at the moment. So the units that you're proposing as short-term rentals would have to be designated hotel extended stay units, not residential. Does that affect your pro forma or how you go about the building?
That's actually what we're assuming. Hotel extended stay. It's sort of, it works out the same way.
Well, it's a very hot topic right now. There's a significant difference in Lake Worth between extended stay hotel rooms and short-term rentals.
So the way the concept works, it's actually a hotel. It's considered a hotel. The reason we're calling it extended stay is just the concept itself of the units that have have kitchens and expect to have longer term guests. But from a ordinance perspective, it's a hotel and pays sales taxes, and it's an actual hotel. It's not an Airbnb or any of the sorts.
And we do allow extended stay hotel rooms. We just don't allow short-term rental.
No, I think
Correct.
you bring up a great point in our terminology, because I do want to be careful about that since it's a very hot topic. But like George said, you can go on the website of either Domi or Sonder, which are the two companies that we're speaking with, and they're hotels. They're extended stay hotels.
Okay, what incentives, if any, are you going to be expecting from the city of Lake Worth Beach?
The main incentive that we discussed in our proposal was the TIF rebate. So that would be a rebate of the incremental taxes generated at the property that the CRA recaptures.
Well, that's a CRA incentive. I'm asking about the ones from the city of Lake Worth.
Oh, apologies. Well, yeah, apologies. The city, were the main incentive we're looking for is approval of the project.
Okay. So in your pro forma, have you included payment for the transfer development rights or not?
Yeah, we're including that in our costs, in our soft costs.
All right. Also explain, or if it even is applicable here, the project's commitment to sustainability and environmental friendliness, which is a important aspect of Lake Worth Beach's sort of DNA and also within our code itself.
Lester, do you want to speak about that? The project's commitment to sustainability?
Yes. Well, definitely. One of the first of all, the first commitment is the mixed use concept. The mixed use concept allows for live and work. So there is to avoid commuting. So that reduces the impact of the transportation, traffic, the use of the infrastructure of the city. The landscape component that, as you can see in the roof terrace, we would incorporate landscape into the concept. Also, engineering-wise, that would be later developed in terms of design, developer, the design development would be the use of all kinds of energy efficiency components, from LED lighting everywhere, high efficiency plumbing fixtures, etc. That basically these three elements are the core of the design. And in terms of ventilation and lighting, the units are less than 25 feet in depth, which is compatible with the concept of LED design. So they all meet the LEED criteria in terms of the design, their depth, because of the proximity to natural ventilation and also natural light based on the depth of the unit. Otherwise, we would have to provide fresh air intake from the corridors, complex engineering system that wouldn't work as efficiently as it works based on the depth of the unit.
Would you be seeking any national certification such as LEED or Green Globes or Florida Green Building Coalition?
Sorry, you're talking about the project or about myself? I am a LEED accredited professional. In terms of the project, it would be up to the, I leave that answer to my clients to see if they would pursue any sort of US GBC certification or LEED accreditation. We have many points that just by design at this moment we immediately achieve. There are other points that based on the design development we would have to evaluate because they add to the cost of the building. The engineering components, they add to the cost of the building. But I think that we would easily achieve a LEED silver in this project, at least because of the design.
Just to add to what Lester said, like you said, he's a LEED accredited professional, so am I, and most of the people working on this project are, and it's a big commitment from our company as well. Our Miami project is actually going to be certified by the U.S. Green Building Council. I think the issue, it's a little bit early to tell for us exactly what route we're going to take, but it's a big commitment from our company's sustainability in general. The issue we usually have with LEED is that it is very costly. It's a very costly process. I think there's some less costly processes, so we'll evaluate it. It's a little bit early to tell.
My last question is, explain to me your understanding of the approval process for this project.
Sure. We work with Harvey Oyer, who I believe you guys probably have worked with.
Yes.
So he's our land use counsel, and we've worked with him on our site in West Palm Beach. We have a good relationship with him. He would be our counsel for this project as well. He's talked to us through the process. It's like everything, it's a process, it's a long process, and I think we seek to make it as collaborative as possible with the city and incorporate their feedback and revisions as we work to bring about a project that meets both our requirements and the city's.
Okay. I don't have any more questions.
Hey, Chris, I have to go back.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the William's question about density and so forth, I'm trying to figure out how to reconcile the density of this project and its suitability and the Lake Worth Sustainable Density bonus. And so help me figure out what that is, how those intersect. And maybe that's a question for William or Joan.
Okay, the base density for downtown is 40 units an acre. Through a planned development, you can get a 25% increase of that to 50 units an acre. And then you can buy another 10 units an acre from our transfer development right program. So the maximum cap in the downtown district east of Dixie Highway is 60 units an acre, unless there was a comp plan change to change that density allotment, and then also consequently a zoning code change. So that's where the 60 comes from.
And so what you had said is that this goes beyond the 60. And so I'm wondering about the developer's thoughts. We've already shrunk the building and now there's a density issue. And so I'm just wanting to make sure you guys see the numbers still working.
But the short-term rentals or vacation rentals or whatever we're calling don't count towards the density, correct, William?
That's right. That's why I'm making the distinction. They cannot be residential. They must be hotel rooms. You can do extended stay, but they cannot be residential.
Okay. All right. So does the plan include the Lake Worth Sustainable Density bonus? Okay.
It does. Just to add to that, so based on on the size of the site, going up to the maximum density of 60 units per acre, when you take off the floor that we discussed, we're going to be there. And like mentioned, the hotel rooms don't count towards the density. So that's why we're separating between the residential and the hotel room component.
Yeah, the way that I did the calculation, and I don't have it right here in front of me, but you had to take off a floor, and then there was a few permanent residential units that needed to be changed into vacation rentals in order for you to meet the density maximum.
Okay, Joan, look, they couldn't be changed to vacation rentals. They would have to be extended stay hotel rooms.
Extended stay hotel rooms.
Just for the edification if the public's listening.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's all for all the questions. We're going to put you guys back in the virtual waiting room. Thank you for everything. So just hang out so we can come back and do our scoring. Okay, thanks, Lester and George and Diego.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
And Joan and Chris, I need to take a little 5-minute break if you don't mind.
Go ahead. Put yourself on mute.
It's going to take a while to.
Brent, how you looking? Because you got your timing.
Yeah, I'm looking at least 15 minutes late to my other call.
Sorry about that, man.
No, it's okay. I emailed that other group and told them that at 10:30 I said we're not halfway through our presentations and we're 2/3 through our.
Wasn't expecting the first group to have.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, we have questions. I should have known this was going to be a thing, and just. You know, in Outlook calendar, when two things don't overlap when you first accept them, this will all work out.
Yeah.
On Thursday, I was looking at it, I was like, when Emily sent the invite, I was like, this is probably going to take longer. Yeah, I thought about that.
Well, I mean, we put in 3 hours just so we made sure we didn't get knocked off.
No, that's fine. It's just my first invite had only till 11. And so then when I got another, whatever.
Yeah.
I go from WebEx to Zoom to Teams to.
The next submitters are. I think it's only 2 of them, so they might be pretty quick. So, and then just have your, if anything, have your scores ready, and then you could just, worst comes to worst, email them or send them to us or something. So
so we'll have an open discussion in front of everyone.
No, the discussion after this proposal, we'll have a discussion just amongst ourselves, and then bring everyone back on, the public and everybody else, so they can hear the numbers. But there's no public comment or any more comments from the submitters. Yeah.
So we send you our spreadsheet
after the meeting's over. You can send me the spreadsheet.
We just read off our scores.
Just read off the bottom line. Yeah.
Off of 100.
Okay. Yeah, for each guy.
Okay.
What if we're not ready?
Got to be ready now. Got to be ready.
All right. Ready but not confident.
Yeah. William, go. Nice. Okay.
Is retail spaces considered public parking spaces if it's available for retail?
Good question.
Say again?
So one of the scoring is at least some public parking spaces.
Okay, yeah.
And so they're saying retail spaces. That sounds public. Maybe it costs money, but I don't know.
You mean development of at least some public parking spaces?
Yes.
I read that as public parking.
Retail has to be public parking, right? I mean,
that's what it seems.
Yeah, I would think so. This is always a learning experience for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is nice. Oh, it's too tall. Oh, it has too many. Good thing I'm not trying to be a developer.
Yeah. Yep.
I could see why you'd look across the street and be like, oh, look how tall that one is, and not the history of the legal fiasco associated with the Lucerne.
Yeah.
I think Drew, you'll know Jeff Clemens was the CRA that approved the Lucerne.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so many years ago. Mark was probably on that one too. Rickard. He's been around a while.
All right, I'm gonna bring in these guys just so that we're ready. Bringing in Alex and Norman. Alex, Norman, who else do you have on your team to speak about the project?
That's it. It's just Norman and I.
Okay, give me a couple minutes. Just hang out. Norman's connecting, and William's coming back into the office. So
I'm going to grab a glass of water real quick too.
Go ahead.
Drew, if you heard them mention Harvey Oyer, I don't know if you've ever met him before. He's
yeah.
Really, yeah.
Yep, I've talked to him and had dinner with him.
Oh,
yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, and he's just such an interesting guy. He's got such a cool knowledge of the history, and we've got a couple of his children's books at the house for Noel, and that's pretty cool. Pretty cool guy.
He sent me a couple of them. I got them at my office because I don't have children.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's cool. I like him a lot.
Maybe my children will have children, and then I can use them.
There you go. I hope you guys knew Drew's son is famous on TikTok. He's a big athlete. He's a runner.
Yep.
That's his following.
It's kind of weird.
Chris, we have one. Chris, we have one more guy, Rob Romagnoli. He's out there.
Okay, because Norman's thing is not connecting. I let him in, but he's not connecting. I'm going to let Rob in.
Let me text Norman here. Hang on one second.
Yeah, see what's going on with this. Okay, Robert's coming in. Okay, Alex, you and Robert are on. Norman it says it's trying to connect. I don't know if you want to go ahead or not. We just want an overview of the project, and then we're going to do Q&A.
Let me call him. I know he wants to really hear this. So hang on one second, if you don't mind. I don't know what's going on with his computer here. Okay. Hey, Norman. Norman. Hey, they say you're connected. I see on the screen that you're trying to connect. Are you on? Can you see us? Yeah, we're all on and they're trying to connect you in. It says, please wait, he says.
Are we still doing, I'm asking for timing purposes, are we still doing REI meetings today?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, why don't you call back in? I'll leave you on speakerphone here so you can hear everything being said until then, okay? Well, he hung up up front, so. All right, well, let's start. If he calls and interrupt, if he calls while we're doing this, I'll just pick it up and we'll keep going. So, all right.
All right, go ahead.
All right. So, guys, thank you so much this morning. I know you guys have been going at this. You want to wait for William to come back? I see he's away from his desk.
He's in and out. Here he is. He's there. Go ahead.
All right. So thank you all. As I said, when Norman tries to connect back in, if he calls me, I'll just pause for a second. But good morning. We appreciate the opportunity to present the project Element to the City of Lake Worth. Element is a 128-unit mid-rise luxury apartment development in the downtown. As you'll see from our proposal, we worked hard to stay within the guidelines of the RFP with respect to architecture, massing, and height. This is based upon several discussions with the CRA and city staff. Before I go into more about the project and the specifics of that, a little bit about our team. We actually were in front of you a couple weeks ago with respect to the property on Dixie Highway, so I'll be brief. My name is Alex Rosemergy. I'm the CEO of Rosemergy Properties. We've been in business since 1977. With over 43 years of experience, we focused on South Florida real estate, primarily in the Tri-County area. From our beginning, the cornerstone of our portfolio has been multifamily. We've owned, managed, and developed several thousand units in South Florida over the past 4 decades. Currently, we're in the process of developing and renovating over $250 million of apartment projects in Palm Beach and Broward counties. Most recently, we completed a 260-unit mid-rise luxury apartment project in Davie, Florida, adjacent to Nova University. We were also lucky enough to be the first developers to bring purpose-built student apartments to Palm Beach County with the development of University Park at Florida Atlantic University. And currently, we are about to open Uptown Boca, which is a 1.1 million square foot lifestyle project in West Boca, which includes 456 mid-rise luxury apartments and 180,000 square feet of walkable retail, grocery, food, and entertainment uses to the West Boca community. Our partner on the project is Norman Weinstein, as you all know. Like us, Norman's also a local real estate investor and developer. He brings with him a tremendous amount of successful real estate experience, as he's developed and owned a variety of real estate verticals, including office, industrial, retail, and multifamily properties throughout South Florida, New York, and Iowa for the past 40 years. His career started with the renovation of small apartment buildings in the west side of Manhattan. Norm has also developed a mix of high-rise residential, office, industrial, and retail projects in South Florida starting in the 1990s. Regarding the project, we've designed Element to be a 128-unit boutique 5-story luxury apartment building. Our unit mix will be 20 studio apartments, 68 one-bedroom apartments, and 40 two-bedroom apartments. An item of note, as we move through the design development phase of the project, we plan to convert about a dozen first-floor units to live-work units that border L Street and First Avenue. These units will have private on-street entrances as well as in-unit workspace. The building is a wrap design with an internal 4-story parking garage that will provide parking in close proximity to all units. The architecture was designed per the guidance of the City of Lake Worth Beach and the RFP guidelines. The design intent is contemporary architecture that includes individual architectural features to articulate a more coastal design. Typically, we would push to a more modern contemporary design, but based upon direct conversations with the City of Lake Worth Beach staff, we were urged to move more in this direction. At this point, these are just simply lines on paper. We can change them overnight. And we'd almost prefer to do that if we were allowed to. We would be eager to modify the design to a more modern look if staff was open to that design intent. The building will be a certified Florida Green Building Council project. It will include LED lighting, Energy Star appliances, reflective roofs, and car charging stations, among other things. We'll also include an Uber Lyft lounge to encourage ride sharing. We work very hard at curating in our amenity set. Our amenities here will include package and cold storage areas, a gym and cardio area that will include high-tech web-connected equipment, and private conference rooms for our live-work residents. From a technology perspective, we also provide smart lock systems, which will provide a more app-centric living experience by making it possible to remotely control entry and exit, streamlining the access for the new generation of resident-friendly service providers. The technology package will also include managed Wi-Fi and high-speed internet access with bandwidth exceeding 1 gigabyte. Lastly, but not least, about 68% of our households own pets these days. We're seeing pet ownership increase greatly in the recent months at our communities. In response to the growing population of pet owners, we spend a considerable amount of time designing what we affectionately call paw spas for our residents. This project will certainly include that unique and much needed amenity. Regarding the management, it's all about creating a community, right? Not just constructing a building. Over 60% of apartment residents polled believe that apartments should provide services and amenities for the surrounding community. Fitting into the fabric of the community is critical to our success. It's important to note that we self-manage all of our properties for that reason. We believe you can build the nicest building in the area, but if you don't have an equally great team to run the property will certainly fail. We go a long way in our communities to provide resident events such as Taco Tuesdays and grab and go to work breakfast events for our residents, among other things. Also engaging service apps such as Hello Alfred, an app-based concierge service, give our residents additional ways to improve their lifestyle experience at our property. A successful project will bring customers to a great downtown. The success and synergy between this project and the local businesses will help to further improve and lift the downtown economy. My last point of note today, and then I'll be happy to answer questions. We are local developers. Rosemurgy Properties, my family's been in town since 1977, developing properties, owning properties. Norm's been in town since the 1990s. This project will be capitalized by our own personal capital. We are the people that will be directly investing, developing, and managing in the project. We will lean on the collective 100 plus years of experience to deliver a project that both we and the city of Lake Worth Beach can be proud of. From the ownership perspective, this will be a long-term hold for us, similar to other portfolio assets in the Tri-County area. We take a very personal approach to our projects regarding the design, the detail, the quality, and the management. We have tremendous pride of ownership. Our properties are our identity. This will certainly continue on this project. As I remind our team, it's an honor and privilege to have the opportunity to develop a project in a given area. It can help to lift and change a community if well done. Projects like this can have a big impact on the downtown of Lake Worth Beach. We are seeing that happen in West Boca. We saw that happen most recently in Davie. We look forward to the opportunity to make that happen in the downtown of Lake Worth Beach. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Norman. Go ahead and put yourself off mute if you have anything.
Hi. Yeah, I think Alex has done a really good job of presenting our posture and position with respect to the project and its integration within the Lake Worth community at large. I believe, as I've said to everyone for a number of years, that it's really critical for the growth and development and vitality of the downtown to bring more people into the downtown, to live there, to work there, to integrate with the business community, with the shopkeepers. That is the only way to revitalize a neighborhood. And the Lake Worth downtown potentially can be a very vibrant neighborhood. And I think Alex presented our position, and we're available for any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you, Norman. Joan, you want to get started with?
Sure. Let's see. Can't read my notes. Let's start with the commercial space. Can you give me an approximate square footage of how much that would be and what kind of your thoughts are on developing it now versus in the future with the current market?
Yeah, so the commercial space, really what's happening in retail is that the commercial, that it's a very organic, fluid aspect of commercial development these days. Retailers are trying to figure out what their omni-channel presence is and what what size they need. So we keep it pretty open. So anywhere from 3 to 5,000 feet, I'd say at this point, depending on the size of the tenant and their specific needs. These are basically what we've moved from in retail. We used to build 2,000 foot boxes, 1,000 foot boxes, 3, 4, 5, 6. What's happening now is that we try to keep the space as open as possible to move those walls as much as we need to for the incoming tenants. So it's all to be determined as we go through the lease cycle. And regarding the market, I mean, it's really going to come down to obviously what's going on in the world today. So, we'd love to put retail there that services the local community, and just find the right tenant mix that is a synergy between the building, the downtown, and other aspects of the community. So, coffee shop, juice bars, it really all depends on what happens in the next couple of years. I mean, I think we're all kind of on a
wait and see.
day-by-day basis, Yeah.
Retail has to figure out what it's doing and then what it's going to be doing in downtown Lake Worth. We're not going to put in a swap shop. I mean, if we're going to develop retail, it's got to be good retail for a solid tenant, which will be accretive to the neighborhood. That's really important. Retail has to have a purpose at this point going forward, because you have plenty of existing retail, which frankly, does not serve much of a purpose.
John, just to finish that statement, what we try to do on these deals when we have walkability, we have vertical mixed use such as this, is trying to find a retailer that is an amenity to the building, such as a coffee shop, a dry cleaner, maybe it's something related to fitness, something like that. So that's always going to be the goal, because that certainly helps lift the project, and then it fits in line with typically what's going on in a given area as well.
So. Forgive me, I don't remember exactly which proposal, but did you say that this development was going to be Florida Green Building certified?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. And can you discuss a little bit about what, if anything, you were going to do with Site 2? You were just kind of not interested in it right now, or interested in the future, or
interested in the future, future development. We're open to it. We can, going along the lines of being green, we could make it a city park for, the time being. But we're open with, talking to the city about what they would want there. But at this point, we have no specific plans for it.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Drew, go ahead, please.
Sure. The parking on site, that's for the apartments, for the residents?
Yes.
All right. And the one thing you did talk about was this is just lines on paper. And, one of the things that interests me is sort of the location of it, and being catty corner to our square, our city square. And is there any kind of thought you might have on how to sort of make the building iconic of nature, or somewhat, striking as far as where its proximity is to the square?
We would love to. I mean, I'm a frustrated architect at heart, so I would tell you that, and I know Norman is too, and we both have an affinity for art. So we look at our buildings as pieces of art. So yeah, I mean, I love the term iconic. We actually, I actually did a deal in downtown Pompano, and Lamar Fisher, we did a retail deal, and we kept it all concrete. And my retailers kept asking me, when are we going to paint the building? And I told them never. And Mayor Fisher told me that it was an iconic building in Pompano Beach, which I always appreciated that term. I don't think it quite was, but he was being very kind. But the point being is that we take the opportunity to do that every chance we get. And there's a lot of ways you can do it. You can do it just by, basically the vertical architecture. You've seen what's going on in Wynwood, maybe bringing some element like that to the building to create some type of iconic presence on the street or a corner. We're spending a lot of time in Uptown doing it, either with, we believe that signage is art. Every aspect of the property has an impact on the property. So every opportunity we have to do that, we will. If the city is open to us changing the architecture and making it more modern, more relevant to what's going on in today's, in South Florida, but keeping in line with what's going on in downtown, we'd be happy to do so. As I said, we'd be eager to do so.
Do you find what you submitted iconic?
No.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
No, but I want to be fair to the process that, you know, we were very careful here. We didn't want to do something that was going to, we were given explicit instruction to stay within the fabric of the community. Listen, this is obviously, when you go through this process, typically designing the right property can take months, right? We go through many iterations. When you're going through the RFP proposal, you're kind of doing it with time being against you. So if we were given the opportunity or if we were awarded the project, we would sit down, we would rework the architecture, we'd rework the massing. But no, this is not something that, you know, that I would say is iconic, but I feel confident that the architect that we're working with and our group can come up with something that the city of Lake Worth can be very proud of. So, but again, it depends on how far you want us to go outside the envelope. You know, we could go very modern. I mean, I think there's a balance there, right? You don't want to look like, you know, who dropped this in the downtown Lake Worth? It should be in, you know, who knows where. So I think there's balance there.
You know, what's nice about this architecture, and obviously I agree with everything that Alex just said, but this architecture it does not stick out like a sore thumb. It does blend in with the downtown. It does blend in with the community. It's really a matter of how far the community wants to take the architectural design. But this is a really attractive building. It actually reminds me a bit of like the Seagate Hotel in downtown Delray, which when it was built, it really sort of blended in with what was going on rather than making a totally modern statement. So I think that the guys from Spino O'Rourke did a really nice job here, and again, it is, you know, there are lines on a piece of paper and they can be modified, but this is I think a really great step, and I don't think that neither Alex nor I would have any reservations about building this building in the downtown.
Drew, just to follow that comment, I would just say, you know, that if you look at, we've done it both ways. You know, we did, you know, in my experience, I did a Bank United in downtown Boca next to Meisner Park, and it was very contemporary and modern, and, you know, and it does not follow any of the Addison Meisner principles of architecture. And then you could do a building that fits into the fabric of the community. We could go either way. The one thing I would be very, you know, that we need to be very careful of is also our clientele, our residents, right? What are they going to want? And so we try to design something that is in keeping with that. And so, but this is a conversation piece. You know, if the city of Lake Worth wants to see it move more modern, then we can do that. We're very adaptable to whatever the city wants.
Thank you. And thanks for those answers. That's really all I have.
Okay, Brent, you got anything?
I just wanted to point out again on the, I think I neglected to mention this on the first one, but the east-west alley utility issue might be a concern with this. It seems like they have a frontage and a development there on at M Street that eliminates that alley. I don't know if that's workable or not. I know it's lines on paper, as Alex said, but just something I wanted to point out. I think there's utilities running through there that service or that interconnect between M and L, and just something to consider.
Right.
I don't really have any questions that Joan or Drew didn't cover.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Brent. Mike, do you guys, it's not mentioned in the proposal, do you have an estimate or guesstimate of number of parking spaces?
You know, it's 1.75 per unit, so we try to get 1.75, but we don't have it finalized yet because of ADA and that. So, but generally speaking, our goal is to get 1.75 per unit.
Okay. Also, I don't think you talked about TDRs from one site to the other. Is there any, but you don't talk about any CRA incentives, any incentives requested from the CRA?
That's an open conversation piece with the CRA. We don't have anything that's highlighted at this point, but we've been having some high-level dialogue about those incentives. We will be seeking some of them, yes.
Okay, I don't want to ask the other questions, so I'm just going to go ahead and defer to William. William, your turn.
Hi, clarification on one of the questions that Chris asked. One of our criteria is the provision of public parking spaces. The 1.7 will be ones that were required for your apartments. Is there any provision for public parking in your project?
Not on this particular parcel. It will not quite work with the massing and the size of the parcel, but it's something we could certainly accommodate on the second site.
Okay. Now, on to his TDR question. Through our TDR program that we have now that's established in our comprehensive plan and approved by the City Commission, you can only get to 60 units an acre, max. You're proposing borrowing some from a downtown parking lot, which under city charter, in order to release any of its development potential, would require referenda. And then after that would require some sort of comprehensive plan change. Can the project work at 60 units an acre max?
Well, let me just make a comment on that, William. We're not asking for any transfer of development rights from site 3, which is the proposed site for the city garage. I think we limited our discussion to the exploration of the transfer of rights from site 2, and in return, if there was a requirement for some public parking, our concept of creating a park on site 2 might be changed or revised to create on-site surface parking for the public. So that's the way we're looking at this. So we want to avoid that entire bureaucratic process that you just described.
Well, borrowing density from the site 2 would require a comprehensive plan change to allow a site's density to go above 60.
Well,
you're knocking on the door about 72 units an acre, I think, maybe.
Well, William, my only comment would be is that, I think that the other proposals as well are going to deal with the same issue. So I think it's something we have to work through with the city to see how that we can accommodate that.
Yeah, but essentially, I think we're going to make this project work given the parameters that we have to work within.
Okay. As part of your package, are you including the payment of the TDR rights from the city to get your 10 additional units an acre, or are you looking for that to be an incentive from the city?
Well, I think we're exploring, I don't think we're into it enough, frankly, to be able to answer that question completely. I think we have to look at the overall project and see what's available.
Okay. Also, I appreciate some of the comments about the architecture. I think you've actually hit on how to make a larger building a little more contextually harmonious with the Florida vernacular. It is detailed very nicely. How confident is your architect that you can provide or produce this building at the cost that's been estimated?
Well, we're very confident. It really was an architect that would run those. That estimating is done in-house, and so we feel pretty good, and that's based upon exactly what we're seeing in the market. We're building parking garages, wrap product right now currently. So what we did was just take that cost structure and add the cost of living increases and inflationary aspects to construction that's going on in the market, and we feel pretty confident we can do that.
Are you looking, I think Joan may have asked it, are you looking at anything in a certification beyond a Florida Green Building certification, such as LEED, Whole Health Building, Green Globes, one of those?
No, we're not. My experience with LEED is it's not financially feasible to build, especially in apartments. So we have a lot of experience with Florida Green Building Council. A lot of the things from an energy efficiency standpoint these days and the way code is written in South Florida, it's become much more energy efficient within itself. So, we have a strong comfort level with Florida Green Building Council. So we haven't looked at anything outside of that. So that's the only one we're considering.
What incentives, if any, are you seeking from the city of Lake Worth Beach, not the CRA?
That's to Norma's point, that's an open discussion. We're not deep enough into it yet to fully answer that question.
Okay. And my last question is, describe to me how you would present this proposal to the city's Historic Resource Preservation Board.
Excuse me, say that again?
How would you go about presenting this project to the Historic Resource Preservation Board of the city?
In the context of the architecture, or what vernacular?
It's both. I mean, the Historic Preservation Board is the first body you will go through to get your entitlement. They will be making a recommendation to the City Commission, and I'd like to know how you propose presenting this project to them and garnering their support and approval.
Well, I think that goes to the architecture. I mean, it's based upon the guidelines of what the city staff is looking for. So, I mean,
it's also scale. You know, when we looked at this, when Alex and I talked about it and we discussed it with the architects, we made sure that the scale of the building was a little lower so that it would complement the surrounding area. We'll probably have a live work component on the south side as well, and I think given the fact that you have a number of items going on. You want to rebuild the downtown. You want to attract new residents, and you want to maintain some contact, some connectivity with the existing architecture, while at the same time you have to begin to reflect what's going on in the community and in the entire area at large. So it is complex, but I believe that what we've done and what we can do with our project will be compatible with the historic group's vision for the continued development of the downtown.
William, I would say, our success on all development deals as we've been doing this over the past couple of decades is, if the historical board has strong opinions about something, we would certainly take those into consideration and incorporate those into the project. So if I was in front of the board today, I'd say, listen, this is what we've designed. If you have strong opinions that one needs to be changed in order to meet the historical context of what's going on in Lake Worth, we'd be happy to work with you to do so. We don't have egos here. We're trying to meet the needs of the community and build the best project we can possibly build. So, we're certainly open to do that in any which way they feel we should.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Norman, Robert, and Alex. We're going to put you back into the virtual waiting room so we can discuss this. It should take about 5-10 minutes. Bring it back on, and we'll bring it back in, and we'll have the scores ready to go. Okay, so thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Okay, everyone except for us is sitting in the waiting room. Just again, if you guys want to discuss everything, let's do it now. Just want to let you know, we probably should have mentioned this earlier, this is being recorded, so just be careful what you say or don't say.
Making a mistake, Chris.
What's that?
Thank you for saving me from making a mistake.
Yeah. So we're being recorded. So
Chris, if you knew it was recorded, why'd you say all that stuff about William?
Exactly. I don't want anyone to use the bathroom. Yeah.
It's nothing that hasn't already been said, I'm sure.
I'm just kidding.
All right, go ahead. Let's discuss first the INA development. Anyone want to?
Yeah, I would say that while I appreciate a lot of what they talked about, including sustainability and the green elements, and of course saving one of the cottages, which I think would be great. I'm a little hesitant to giving a project of this magnitude to a group who has just formed not too long ago. And I think individually they have a lot of experience, but looking through the projects, I really didn't see any like mid to high rise kind of projects that they had worked on directly. So I kind of feel like it would be a little bit of a learning experience. And I also had some hesitation in kind of going along with, we'll do the project on Lake kind of when the market comes back. Although I know retail is extremely difficult right now, I do think in Lake Worth, there is the resurgence, you know, that we've been talking about. It was in the paper. And I think it's a great time to come up with some interesting ideas there versus kind of leaving the building and then of course having an empty space next door. I just think that I don't have a lot of comfort in kind of saying, okay, well, build what you can now and you can build the rest later and we'll get payment from you over a couple of years. So it just doesn't, all the factors just don't kind of fit in. So for me, I like them a lot, and I'd love for them to work on a project here, just potentially not this one. Those are my thoughts.
Start smaller.
Yeah.
I think so too. Can I ask, so provide a plan that includes City of Lake Worth Sustainable Density Bonus. That seems like a yes or no question. Did they? That's the one I don't know. Did all three of them?
Yeah, all three of them did. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's
all three using all of that. And the TR program.
Some added a little more.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but I have nothing else to add on this one.
Joan, I noticed, like you, I looked through all their projects, and several of them are local that I've seen before or been by. None of them, I think, have structured parking as an element. And just right there, I was like, I don't really if they have the chops just yet. And I'm with you. The idea that the commercial piece is phase 2 and phase 2 is undetermined. We haven't even talked about the fact that they want to do a creative approach to giving us the money back that we've invested. So I really liked them even more when they were presenting than I did when I looked through their book. I thought they seemed really professional and thoughtful, and I think their description of honest was accurate. Like they were very honest in this. We're putting forward what we know we can get done and we feel comfortable fits in. But as far as in my opinion, what we want is more ambitious than what they were really offering or proposing. So that's kind of where I landed with them.
Yeah, I think, you know, leaving the the frontage along Lake Avenue basically vacant and not knowing if it will be developed, you know, there's no guarantees. It's just, you know, that's your most valuable piece of property on this whole this whole development, and it's being left. I mean, just very odd. And by the time you work through the development phase and construction phase, I'm assuming that commercial real estate is going to pick up between now and then. So why not start building now? It's just very odd, and it's the way it's set up right now. It's not a game changer for the area by just building apartment complex, you know, a block away from your main drag.
Well, I felt that I appreciated their honesty and being genuine in the fact that they did propose what they could pull off. I do think this firm or this team versus the other two would have the easiest time winning over the public for what they're proposing. They really seem to understand the DNA of Lake Worth Beach. Their apartment building is 4 stories. It isn't overwhelming. I understand the trepidation about a team that is fairly newly organized, but and I also am concerned about what happens on Lake Avenue, as all of you have expressed. But I do like their approach, and I think the financing piece is really creative. I was working with a firm as a partner that we did something very similar. We did have to post, in that case, a performance bond that ensured everything got done and paid out the entity that was involved. So I don't find that to be that concerned, except for the time frame. The time frame seems to be a little bit ambiguous as when the $2.8 million would come to the CRA, because the city has obligations it's got to meet within a specified time frame where the CRA pays the city back. So that might get to be a sticking point in negotiations with them.
Okay, thanks. Let's move on to the modular. Any comments, please?
I'll start out again. Probably out of all three of those, the design I like the best. I really like the open kind of concept on the floor. I understand that it's obviously too dense and too high. But besides that, I also thought they were very ambitious as far as adding as much commercial as they said they were going to, which wasn't just on Lake and Lucerne, but also on L&M. And I know there's some people who think that, you know, we need more retail, and some people who think we don't need more on the side streets. So I guess that's kind of just, you know, up to whoever is discussing it. I think maybe my main concern with them was really, and kind of the opposite of the last group, which was really understanding the fabric of the community. I'm not really sure the architect necessarily has been here or really kind of walked it and kind of understood some of the things that we were saying. And certainly those things come over time. And I think that we could work with them for sure and come up with a really nice product that everybody would be very proud of. And I'm really glad that they submitted again another project. I think that's really bold of them, and I would really love for them to do something here. I'm just not quite sure this is the right site.
Yeah, it's like I really liked their last submittal too, but it wasn't ambitious enough, and then they just kind of jumped way into the high ambition on this one, right? And so it was a very big pendulum swing, and to me, this is one of those that it's. I like what it brings to Lake Avenue. Outside of it being a monstrous building, right? The way they proposed it, you know, it was way too big. I think if they could scale it down a floor or two, that's fine. But everything else, the amenities it brings to that corner, I thought was really nice with the courtyard and with the rooftop terrace and everything. So I'm not sure that the commercial is going to be successful on First and L. But that's of course not my problem. But you know, I just, this one is the most striking one. I liked it the best. Just if I didn't have to score it, I'd just say, yes, I like this one the best, but just get within our guidelines. But I agree with you, Joan, they're going to struggle getting through the Lake Worth gauntlet. But you know, it's, you know, so that's why I asked the question of the next on the element, you know, can you bring me something that I like to look at a little more? I might be alone on that one. Anyway, that's enough.
Yeah, I think the other thing that was good about it, and I guess it's going to depend on the community, whether they think it's a good thing or not. I think it's a good thing that there will be, extended stay hotel rooms. Only because it brings people to the area who are going to spend money locally. And that's what our downtown really needs right now. I mean, it does make it a much more dense project. But I think in the long term, it would serve us well to have those units directly in the downtown as well as the ones at the Gulfstream. So
yeah, that's true. Good point.
So I thought the same thing as Drew, and I was like, hey, isn't this the folks from before at the Flying Handkerchief where they came in too modest, and now it's the opposite direction? I couldn't believe that the gentleman Diego started off by saying, we tried to be very conservative with this. I was like, what, you know, was this skyscraper on the table? I don't know. But, you know, for me, I kind of would rather someone come in with more ambition and a bigger vision and get pulled back by the, you know, the constraints of how you have to get something done than have somebody like the first team, which I really appreciate, come in and say, we're going to bite off exactly how much we can chew and we think will happen. There's less push to get it through the process, but at the end you get kind of a less ambitious product. So I kind of like this. It does feel a little bit like they took a vision that they would have had for Lincoln Road and tried to put it on Lake Avenue, and that probably doesn't work exactly. But you know, I mean, we have the property where the Cultural Council is. I mean, we have some Art Deco on the street. We have, like, I don't know. I'm not against, you know, kind of like Drew. The visual of it to me is striking in a way that I like. And just when I flipped through the way they laid it all out, I just thought it was the most kind of interesting, and the rooftop idea and the entry plaza that catty corners the annex plaza. So I don't know. I really liked. There's lots of stuff that's going to have to get kind of beat back. But, anyway.
Yeah, I like this one a lot. It's a lot of commercial, but at least they specify the amount of commercial that they're going to put in. I mean, it's way too much, I think. But I like the design, the architecture, and I like the fact that they did kind of say what they want to do, or that they have some sort of plan for the site 2 and 3, which is important. But it needs to be scaled down, and getting through. This could fly through, you know, Miami, fly through Fort Lauderdale. Planning and zoning departments or boards, small town Lake Worth, they're gonna massacre it, I'm afraid. So
let me ask you guys and William, because I haven't really been through this process. When I was reassured to hear they have Harvey Oyer, just because I know his work around West Palm, and I've, you know, seen him on several occasions. But I don't know, does he work in Lake Worth? Does that give you confidence that it'll be more likely to happen? Because I mean, at least they have a local knowledge person, but I don't know if he's really knowledgeable about our city.
I'll speak that to some degree. Harvey Oyer is a personal friend of mine and lived in my neighborhood while I was there for almost 20 years. He has not represented a project in Lake Worth Beach. I've been talking to him over the whole time I've been in Lake Worth Beach to get a project here. I said, you owe me a favor, get a project in here. As for this one, I really appreciate the architecture and the site plan of it. I have to agree with everyone else. It's going to be a really tough sell to our community and the Historic Preservation Board. They don't seem to get what historic preservation is. I'd love to see this project on another assembled site downtown that's not in a historic district. I do also am concerned about their construction cost. I think it's very ambitious to think they can pull this building off in the way that it's designed at the cost per square foot they're proposing. And after we finish butchering it with the fact that all the things you can't do from either the charter, the comp plan, or the LDR, do they still have a financially viable project that will look like something that we would want to see? I don't know. West of Dixie Highway, this is a slam dunk. Outside of an historic district, it would probably go very well. But at this site, it's going to be a real challenge.
all right, what about the last one, Element?
I probably felt the most comfortable with this one as far as the architecture, the height, the way the units were laid out. I think it was a little uninspiring to me. I realized that we're trying to fit into the fabric of the community, and I appreciated the fact that they stepped the building down in the back. But for me, the front side of it just was really boring. And I know that's just a matter of working with them, and they kept saying it was just lines on a paper. And you know, and I think that's wonderful. I just don't want to get to the point where we're designing by committee. I would really like to kind of say to them, hey, you know, keep being sensitive to the neighborhood, but come back with something that's a little more iconic in the front. The way that I describe it is when somebody sees the building, I want them to know that it's in Lake Worth. So that was really the only kind of negative I had about it, was just the design in the front. But otherwise than that, I thought it fit the site really, really nicely. I really like the step down in the back. I like that they're, you know, they're going to do commercial, but not too much commercial. At least it didn't seem. But they were going to wrap some of the building with some live work units, which I think would be fantastic downtown, especially. And I think they did a really good job of kind of finding a design that fit in well with the surrounding neighborhood. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, clearly they're. I mean, if this one won out, you would have the most confidence that they would get to the end of the process with something that, you know, kind of meets the goals of the RFP. So it's one of those that you juxtapose that, you know, the confidence that you have in the team with what you're going to get at the end of the day. So I see it the same way. You know, I would want, you know, I just wish I could get excited, right? I mean, that's just the whole thing. But it looks like it's very viable and they know what they're doing. Maybe when they're pitching it, they should reference Boca less and reference Del Rey less. But, you know, other than that. So that's all I got.
I agree. It looks like everything that's been built in the last 10 years in Boca and Del Rey and everywhere else to me. And I don't think Spino O'Rourke is necessarily somebody that only does this look. So I kind of get the sense that this was the direction they gave, that this is kind of the way they want to look. But I don't know, that's conjecture. I agree. I mean, this seems like the thing that could go the easiest through. I mean, they've already done the Starbucks right here with our CRA in our town. So they know the processes, they know the levers that you have to pull to make it happen. But I'm the at all that energetic, with there just wasn't anything that I was like, oh, that's a creative approach, or that's an interesting idea, or I hadn't considered. This is kind of the safest play, which maybe it's the best play, but I was uninspired for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think they can get it done. The architect is what it is, but I think they can get it done. They know the process to get through it. I wasn't too excited that they have really no plan for site 2, site 3. You know, we're not looking for parks. I know it'd just be temporary, but I was looking for something a little more solid or firm for those sites. Because again, this RFP was for not only this one, but for at least at a minimum site 2 as well. So there's really no mention.
The second team is the only team that proposed anything for site 2, right?
No, the first team had that 10-unit building as well.
Okay.
They didn't really, sell that at all. But that's where we're trying to develop all these lots and not have to do this again in a few years. So we want to get this all done like that at one time. That's pretty much all I had.
In reference to what everybody's been saying, it's interesting to me that this elevation that would face First Avenue South is more, in quotes, iconic looking and more pleasing looking than what's actually facing Lake.
Yeah.
I don't think that Lake is impossible to fix. I would appreciate a combination of prairie vibe, maybe a glass-faced tower on the corner or something that is a combination of a modern twist and frame vernacular. But I think we could get there. As you all said, the firm is probably the best capable of pulling this off in a scale that is what we wanted from the RFP. And again, I'm a little concerned about their development potential in terms of density. I don't know how to get them where they are without some major hoops to be jumped through, which may or may not go over. And they're not very, I don't have a probability of how they may go. And also the site 2, I really wanted something there. I think in the long term, we're going to have a little bit of a issue putting a parking lot there, replacing 2 contributing historic structures. It could be a temporary use, but I just don't want people that are really fundamentally, philosophically against moving, tearing down an historic building with a parking lot there. So that's all I have to add.
Okay, that's everything. So what we're going to do now is bring all these, there's about 18 people in the waiting room right now, bring them all back in. They are to be on mute. There's no discussion, no public comment. They will all be brought back in. We're going to go through the scoring, the bottom line scoring of each one, total them up, and then we'll be done. So I'm bringing
Chris,
everyone.
can I send you my scores and then leave so I can see if this other call is even still happening?
You want me to do it right now? Let's do it right now.
Or just read them off. Is that right?
Just give me what you got for Ina.
81.
Okay. Modular.
86.
Okay. And element.
84.
Okay. I'm going to read them again to everyone that's there as well, just if you're not in. So
yeah, of course. I'm sorry, guys. I gotta go, but
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to be on this.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, again. Appreciate you staying online. The RFP development team has reviewed the 3 proposals. We've interviewed the 3 different teams. We've discussed all proposals after interviewing each of them, and now we're ready to score provide final scores for each of the 3 developments. So I'm going to start with Joan Oliva. If you give me your score, please, for the Ina development.
63.
Okay, and for the Atlier modular?
82.
And for the Rosemergy element?
89.
Okay, thank you. Drew, give me yours for Ina development.
You're on mute.
73.
73 for Ina. Okay, modular?
90.
Okay, Rosemergy element?
89.
Okay, thanks. Brent Whitfield had to drop off. He gave a score of Ina is 81, for the modular an 86, and for the element 84. William, what do you got for Ina?
Okay, I'm feeling like I'm being very brutal, but on the first one, a 68.
Okay, and for modular?
A 53.
Okay.
And the last element, a 63.
63 is last one. Okay. For myself, I scored the first one, Ina, a 64, for modular an 82, and for the element an 81. So what I'm going to do now, it seems like it's pretty close. Got to add them up. Okay, so tally all the scores up. For Ina development, we have it as total 349 out of 500. For the Atlier modular, 393 out of 500. And for the Rosemergy element project, 406 out of 500 possible points. So the top being at this time Rosemergy element. All the committee members are to send me their score sheets so we can have that for the record when possible. We're going to eventually send this recommendation. This is just a recommendation. It's not a final action. We're going to send this recommendation to the CRA board of directors in October, more than likely, to give a final review and blessing, or to take action. And that will be that. I thank all the committee members for reviewing it. And that wraps up the meeting for today. If you have any questions, feel free to contact the CRA office. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Chris.